Hi guys, it's me Nicolette. I'm sorry I look a bit crusty. I've just woken up. It's been a very early morning. I did a fresh breakfast this morning, so that was pretty dope. And while I was doing that show, somebody actually sent us a tweet and they were asking, Nicolette, I'm struggling to save. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I just keep spending my money, and I really just I can't save, please help me. And it reminded me of something that was very important. When I started working in advertising back in 2013 up until 2016, I was working for a very small agency, and we had one client, and it was a very big client, but we had one client, it was a government client, and there was great opportunities in that. When I started off, with government clients, you've got opportunity to bring in new things, to start new things. So it was quite exciting to be working on that client. But after 3 years, it becomes a little bit monotonous. You're thinking, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. The ideas keep coming, but they're the same type of ideas. And I started feeling like I wanted to work on new clients. You go into advertising, you want to work on the alcohol client, you want to work on, clients that we are deeming as fun and challenging, if I may put it that way. And I just think that also from the client's perspective, the company was not coming up with anything new. We're coming up with the same ideas. And I was feeling like there was not a lot of growth in terms of the company. The company wasn't going out looking for new clients. And I was really like head-butting with my bosses at that time, saying, you guys need to grow the company. You guys need to bring in new people. And we obviously did not have the same type of vision. But I spoke to one person, and it kind of opened up my mind about certain things. And it was probably also the reason why I had left the company. When I had the conversation with this person, they said to me, you need to understand that there are two different types of people. Number one, there are those people who really understand that there needs to be change and they resist the change, right? And then there's the other type of person who understands that there needs to be change and they know that they need to do this change, but they do not know how. And he felt that at that time, my bosses were in the group of people who just did not know how to go about doing things. And I think that's the same situation with a lot of people when it comes to their savings and investments, is that you understand that you need to do this. You understand the importance of, financial education, the importance of saving, the importance of investment, but you just really do not know how to go about it and actually get it right. Now, obviously, because I am not a wealth manager, I'm not an asset manager, I am not a financial advisor, I'm not a financial planner, I'm just plain old Nicolette, who is, every single morning I wake up and I'm just winging things and I'm really just trying. So it's very important that you understand that not to take everything that I say as something that is that needs to be put in practice immediately, but just take it as something that you need to think about. And today I want to address the issue of savings and investment. And as I was driving to this interview, I was thinking, there's a difference. The argument of property being an asset stems from the fact that people do not understand the different areas or the different transitions that your investments and savings are supposed to go through. I say there's two phases. There is the preservation phase and then there's the growth phase. And you need to decide where you are and you need to decide which one you would like to start off with. And I always say property is one of those that starts off as a preservation method or vehicle of investing or saving money, and then it will go to growth. But that's a topic for another day. Let's speak specifically to investments and savings. So the one question that I asked this gentleman, because he said, I do not know how to save. I seem to be spending my money. I asked him, number one, do you have the money to save? Because if you've got the money to save, you're really doing absolutely well. The other problem is, where are you saving and how are you saving? Right, for me, that is savings. The second thing that you need to be thinking about is something we called, when we look at investment, is I think there are 4 things that come with investment. Number one, how much are you realistically looking to make? So basically, what do you want this money to actually do for you, right? What would you, if you've got 100,000 Rand right now, what do you want that 100,000 Rand to do? How much do you want it to appreciate by? That's number one. Number two, what is your risk profile? Now, we know that, I'm sure most of you watch my videos know alcohol and you understand alcohol, and you know that you should not be drinking on an empty stomach. So now I always say, when you are determining your risk profile as a person, it's the same as when you make a decision to go out and drink alcohol on an empty stomach. You now need to ask yourself, Do I drink vodka on an empty stomach? Do I drink gin on an empty stomach? Do I drink wine? Do I drink champagne? What is it that I can drink that will not yield the worst type of results, but might give me some good results? I'll feel nice, but I won't feel very bad the next day. Basically, and I know that any type of alcohol on an empty stomach will give you a bad day the next day. So don't do it. But I think that that's a better way for me to be able to kind of paint out this picture of a risk. What type of risk are you willing to take? And remember that your risk profile might be different now with the amount of money that you might have now, but tomorrow you might be in the money, you might win 250,000 Rand and you might have a different risk profile. Also, your risk profile sometimes is determined by the access that you've got to funds right now, because if you only have 5,000 Rand now, you might be a very low risk type of person. But if you have 5,000 Rand but you've got additional amounts of money somewhere else, you might be looking at an aggressive strategy for your investment. So it's very important that while your risk profile needs to be evaluated a couple of times over and over every single time you go out and do an investment. So for each investment, determine what your risk profile is. And then the third thing that you need to be looking at is administration costs. How much are you willing to pay and who are you willing to pay to be able to invest your money? There are investment vehicles where you do not have any administration costs and those things don't count. Property has administration costs, so transfer costs are administration costs. Things are like rates and taxes are your administration costs. So you also need to think about what additional costs do I need to pay to be able to make this investment do what it's supposed to do. Sometimes there's a thing that we call a brokerage fee. So if you are using a brokerage or you are using a broker, you are going to be paying them an administration fee. There are types of investments that do not attract any administration fees. The likes of the tax-free account, very little or minimal administration fees that you will be looking at in those kind of things. Also, inflation, the interest that you are getting back, does it beat inflation? So in other words, what is the actual real interest that you are getting, the true interest that you are getting? Because remember, when it comes to investment, you need to minus the interest that you are being given. For instance, if you're working with a 32-day account that says 7%, you need to take that 7% and minus inflation, because if you don't minus inflation and your interest rate does not beat inflation, you might as well spend that money today, because you're going to get the true value of that money today as opposed to over the amount of years. Number 4 thing that you need to be looking at is tax efficiency. How tax efficient is the savings that you're going into? Now, there is a very big difference between things like property tax, capital gains tax that you're going to be paying on a property versus an RA tax that you're going to be paying on an RA, versus if you're going into the livestock wealth, versus if you're going into a stokvel, versus if you're going into stocks and bonds, versus if you're doing forex trading. So those are the most important things that you also need to be looking at is in relation to tax. How tax efficient is my investment vehicle that I'm looking at? And I think I said 4 things, but there is one more thing, is the period. And period, when I talk about period, I talk about the length of time that you're willing to put away your money, because we know that the magical ingredient when it comes to savings is a thing called time and compound interest. Compound interest becomes an amazing thing. It becomes like, fine wine that is given time to age, because compound interest is really how you make your money. So how much time do you have to give that money to be able to do what you want to do? And also, the 6th thing, I know I said 4 things, guys. These things just pop up in my head, and I'm just like, oh, that also. What we call and the little thing that now it's really just slipped my mind. What is it that I was thinking of? So we're talking about compound interest and time, or liquidity, which really does tie in with time and the period. Liquidity, how accessible do you want that money? Usually what banks do is that they will say, if you can fix your money for a certain amount of period, which is basically you borrowing them amount of money for like 5 years, you will attract higher interest rates. It's the same thing with investment companies, same thing with any financial investment companies, is that if you give them enough time to be able to use your money, they will be able to find you the right type of interest that you might be looking at. So those are some of the things. So it goes back again, and let me give you a practical example of savings. I always say, if you want to start savings, you will never be able to save unless you have done a budget and you know how much money is your how much is your disposable income. So basically, when we talk about your disposable income, we're talking about the money that is left in your account after you have paid for all your basic living expenses, but also including your entertainment, your food, your groceries, your petrol. All those things need to be included into your budget so that you know exactly how much money is left at the end of your after you have paid for all those things. Then when we say pay yourself, we say take that disposable income and pay yourself into an account that you will not have access to. So pay yourself into a 32-day account. Now, yes, you can prematurely withdraw money from a 32-day account, but it's going to cost you. And if you are that person that likes to pay penalty fees, by all means, please go and prematurely remove your money. But a 32-day account will start training you to understand, if I earn 15,000 rand, but I only need 14,000 rand or 13,000 rand to actually live every single month to month comfortably, I have an additional 1,000 rand that I can put away. And that's what we talk about when we talk about paying yourself. So guys, again, it's not a blanket solution. Not everybody's going to go into the same type of investment because we don't all have the same type of risk profiles. We don't all have the same type of risk appetites. We're not all in the same type of situation. So don't think because somebody's going into property, that's what you need to go into. Somebody's going to livestock wealth, you need to go into. Somebody's going to Bitcoin, you need to jump into it. Somebody's going to forex trading, you need to jump into it. Understand who you are, understand your goalposts, and never ever shift the goalposts. You know where you want to go. Make sure that moving from A to E, you've got the right type of vehicles that are moving you from B to C to D, but ultimately getting you to E. And never move the goalposts from E unless your goalposts are just bop and you're just a bop person. So those are the kind of things that I will always say. Look into those kind of things, determine for yourself who you are, and you will know exactly how to get there.